My name is Ava, and I never believed money could separate blood until the day I watched my own sister, Bianca, become a billionaire and turn into someone I barely recognized. We were born only 2 years apart, raised in a small apartment with peeling wallpaper and leaky ceilings. We shared clothes, shared food, shared dreams. We used to stay awake at night making plans under a single flickering bulb. I'd own a bakery one day, and she would write novels so powerful they changed the world. We were sisters, best friends, inseparable. But life doesn't always honor childhood promises. The day Bianca left for the city, I stood in the doorway of our tiny home, clutching her old gray backpack like it was the last solid thing in the world. She hugged me tight, her eyes full of light and hope. "When I make it big," she whispered into my hair, "I'm coming back for you. I won't leave you behind, I swear." I believed her. Years passed. Money came, slowly for me, and like lightning for her. She sold her first novel for a fortune, then the second. Movie rights, merchandise, world tours. Within 5 years, she wasn't just successful, she was global. Her face was everywhere. Billboards, interviews, talk shows, magazine covers. People called her the voice of a generation. Cameras flashed when she walked. Cars stopped traffic for her. She was rich. No, richer than anyone in our town had ever seen. A billionaire by 29. And I was still waitressing double shifts, pouring coffee for people who didn't know my name. We drifted. Not because I changed, but because she did. Bianca stopped visiting home. She stopped calling. Soon, she became too busy, too unreachable, too far away from the girl who once slept beside me under a broken roof, dreaming of freedom. Then one morning, she arrived unannounced. Her arrival was not gentle, not warm, not like a sister coming home, but like royalty stepping into a village. A black car pulled up to my tiny rented place, sleek as liquid glass. The door opened, and Bianca stepped out, wearing a pearl-white suit, sunglasses that hid half her face, and heels that silenced the earth underneath her. Her driver carried 3 phones behind her, like she needed the whole world at her fingertips. I stood at the doorway, hair messy from work, apron stained with spilled soup. She looked like marble, polished, expensive, cold. I looked like exhaustion molded into flesh. "Bianca?" My voice cracked like old wood. She took off her glasses slowly. Her eyes, blue like winter, ran over me from head to toe, unreadable. "Ava," she said, and the sound of my name from her lips almost made me cry. Almost. Inside, we sat across from each other at my small wooden table. I only had one mug clean, so I set it in front of her and told her to use it. She didn't drink. She only watched me, tapping manicured nails against polished wood. "You look tired," she said. Not cruel, not soft. Just obvious. "I work a lot," I replied. She nodded, like she expected that answer. "You could have called," I whispered. Her jaw tightened, just a little. "I'm calling now." It wasn't enough. Memories rose in my throat like dirt and water. The nights we whispered promises into each other's dreams. The mornings she held my hand to cross the street. I wanted to ask why she left me behind. Why success needed space, silence, distance from the people she once needed most. Instead, I said, "Why are you really here?" That question changed everything. Bianca exhaled slowly and reached into her purse. A deed. Glossy, thick, official. She slid it across the table between us like a blade. "I bought you a house." I stared. Not a house. A mansion. The kind you see in magazines where people swim in water the color of diamonds and chandeliers sparkle like galaxies. "I don't need a house," I whispered. "I need my sister." She froze. And for a moment, for one fragile second, her eyes flickered with something raw. Something like guilt. Something like the girl I used to know, whispering across time. "I'm sorry." But then it vanished. "This is better," she said firmly. "I ruined our relationship, Ava, I know, and I can't fix who I became, but I can give you something that might make your life easier. You deserve that." "Money isn't love," I said, voice trembling. "And love isn't always enough," she replied. Silence pressed on the room like weight. Outside, cars passed. Time moved, but the sisters inside that small house were frozen in 2 different worlds. One built from gold, one built from struggle. I pushed the deed away. "I don't want charity." "It's not charity," she said sharply. "It's apology." I stood, voice cracking into anger. "Then apologize. Speak it, Bianca. Tell me you regret leaving me behind. Tell me I mattered to you." She didn't flinch. She didn't blink. She only said 5 words, cold and heavy as steel. "You can hate me, but take the house." My breath stopped. My heart, too. Her voice was steady, but her hands trembled. Just barely, just enough for me to see she wasn't made of stone after all. She stood then, smoothing her suit, armor made of fabric and fame. "I'll transfer everything this week," she said. "You don't have to see me again." She walked toward the door. I stared at the deed. Pulse roaring, memories, pain, love, distance, 5 years of growing apart, everything tangled like vines inside my chest. She reached the doorway, and I finally broke. "Bianca?" She stopped, but she didn't turn. "Why me?" I asked, voice small, child small. She exhaled, a slow, fragile breath, like the kind you release when something hurts too much to hold. "Because," she whispered without looking back, "you're the only person I ever loved without conditions, and I don't know how to earn that love back anymore." The door closed between us, and I stood alone, trembling, staring at the deed that sat like a ghost on my table. Not charity, not forgiveness, just a wound shaped like generosity, a house worth millions, a sister I barely recognized, a heart still waiting for the girl who once promised I won't leave you behind. But she did, and now I had to decide whether accepting her gift meant betrayal or healing. That was the beginning. The day she returned. The day she gave me wealth instead of warmth. The day love and resentment became the same flavor in my mouth, a house in my name, a sister with walls of diamond around her heart, in one sentence that changed everything. "You can hate me, but take the house." And I did. Not out of greed, but because part of me knew, if I accepted it, the story wasn't over. It was just beginning. I didn't sleep that night. My room in the mansion was bigger than the entire apartment I used to rent. Yet I'd never felt more awake, more aware, more hollow and full all at once. The bed was soft like clouds, the sheets crisp and warm, but I lay stiff beneath them, staring at the ceiling where a crystal chandelier cast fractured patterns of light across the room. Emily's words still echoed inside me. "You can hate me, but take the house." Why say something like that? Why give me something this grand after years of silence? Why now? My sister wasn't the type to do things without reason. She calculated everything she ever did, like father, like mother, like the entire family I walked away from. Maybe the house wasn't a gift. Maybe it was a chess move, and I was the piece being placed. I rose slowly at dawn, walking barefoot across polished wooden floors to the balcony. The air was cold, clean, untouched. The sun hadn't risen yet, and the world looked like it held its breath. The garden below was trimmed with perfection. Hedges like rulers had shaped them. Flowers sleeping with dew, almost too perfect, like it was waiting for something to break. By noon, I had unpacked nothing. I sat with untouched tea and a tightness inside me that felt like it was building. Quiet, but alive. At 1:14 p.m., my phone buzzed. "Emily. Dinner, 8 p.m., main hall. Wear something formal. No greeting, no explanation, no question of whether I wanted to. Just expectation, like always." And just like that, I knew part 2 of this story wasn't about a house. It was about something bigger, something hidden. When evening arrived, I stood in front of the mirror, wearing the black dress I hadn't touched in 3 years, a gift from Emily before everything fell apart. Silk, sleeveless, simple but haunting, like a memory too sharp to hold. I pinned my hair back the way I used to when we still spoke, when she still loved me or pretended to. And then I walked into the dining hall. Emily was already seated. The room was long, lit with white chandeliers like drops of ice suspended midair. An impossibly long table, stretched through the center, empty except for 2 settings at opposite ends, her at one end, me at the other. Distance we could measure in steps, but not in years. She didn't stand when she saw me, didn't smile, just stared. "You look like you belong here," she finally said. I took my seat. I belonged once, before I fell. Her fingers paused on the stem of her glass. "You didn't fall, Lily, you ran." I felt a sting in my chest. Not anger, not guilt, just truth. "I ran because everything here was suffocating me," I said quietly. "I ran because I wanted to decide my life for once." Emily took a slow breath. "And how did that go for you?" Was she asking as a sister or as a judge? I swallowed. "Harder than I thought, but mine." Silence stretched like a held wire, thin, dangerous. Servants brought food, steak glazed in red wine, steamed vegetables, plates arranged like art, too beautiful to disturb. We didn't eat. Emily set her knife down. Lily, I need you to understand something. Her voice dropped, controlled, cold, unshaken. You're here for a reason. There it was, the hidden door. My shoulders stiffened, but I didn't look away. What reason? Her eyes met mine, unreadable. To replace me? The room froze. Even the candle flames seemed to pause. I stared, breath locked in my chest. Replace her? Replace Emily? That didn't make sense. She was the heir, the powerful one, the billionaire, the one everyone bowed to while I disappeared into shadows and ordinary life. She continued as if discussing the weather. My health is failing, slowly but inevitably. She tapped her glass once. The doctors have limits. Money doesn't fix dying organs. I felt the world tip slightly. You think I can run this? My voice trembled. You think I'm capable of— No, she cut sharply. I know you are. Her certainty struck something deep inside me. The house, the invitation, the cold tone. It wasn't generosity, it was preparation. Emily stood and walked toward me, not with grace, but with urgency, like she had finally cracked. You are the only one I trust, she said quietly. The only one who won't burn this empire down. The only one with a conscience strong enough to lead without cruelty. My throat tightened. Then why say I could hate you? She exhaled, and for the first time, I saw her, not as the unbreakable billionaire, but as a woman standing at the edge of her own mortality. Because I took everything from you. And there it was. No velvet over the blade, no softness in the truth. She confessed it like an execution. I let the media destroy your name when you left. I didn't defend you when they called you ungrateful. I cut you out of the inheritance, and I watched you struggle alone. Her voice trembled, not with weakness, but with self-control stretched to its limit. I was angry you left. I was angry you didn't want this life. I was angry you didn't want me. The chandelier above us flickered, crystal catching cold light like tears frozen midair. For years I thought I was the abandoned one, but now I wondered, had she been the one left behind too? I whispered, Emily. She stepped back, not toward power, but toward vulnerability. You can hate me, Lily, she said softly, you deserve to. But take the house, take the company, take everything before it gets taken by someone else. Her gaze was sharp, terrified and fearless at once. Our cousins will rip it apart if I'm gone. They already want control. They're circling. She leaned closer, voice a blade wrapped in velvet. And they will destroy you to get what they want. Something inside me shifted. Not forgiveness, not love. Something heavier, responsibility. I didn't bring you here to heal old wounds, she whispered. I brought you here because this legacy needs teeth and heart. It needs you. I didn't breathe. The girl who left with nothing was now being handed an empire built on blood and ice. I looked at her, not at the billionaire, but at the sister who stayed strong until her body betrayed her. And I realized something. This story was never about hatred, never about wealth, never about a house. It was about inheritance born from broken love. And part 2 ended not with forgiveness, but with the weight of a crown I never asked for, resting quietly in my hands. The room fell into silence after Emma finished speaking. Her words still echoed in the air like something sharp and tender all at once. I stared at her, unable to respond. Not because I didn't want the house, not because I couldn't believe she was giving it to me, but because I finally understood. Emma wasn't trying to punish me. She was freeing herself and freeing me. She placed the deed gently on the table between us. No dramatic flourish, no superiority, no arrogance, just quiet finality. I'm signing it over tomorrow morning, she said softly, as if announcing rain instead of a life-changing gift. You'll never have to worry about rent again. No landlord coming to evict you, no packing bags and running because you can't afford a roof. Her voice trembled just a little. That tremble told me more than tears ever could. Emma had spent her whole life being strong, for everyone, for the world that bowed beneath her name, for a father who adored her but also pushed her beyond her childhood, for a legacy she never asked for but carried anyway. And she was tired. For the first time, I saw the truth not as her sister, but as a woman. She was exhausted from holding so much while I was drowning in so little. My breath caught. Why now? She looked at me with eyes that were both kind and unbearably sad. Because I spent years convincing myself you didn't deserve anything after what happened between us, she admitted. But punishing you didn't heal me. Watching you suffer didn't give me peace. We were both hurting, just in different houses. Her words landed deep. I thought back to childhood. 2 little girls, 1 bed, 1 blanket, 1 father who loved us both, but gave the throne only to one. I remembered birthdays where she wore silk while I wore secondhand. I remembered the day our father passed away, and everything inside our family shifted like broken glass. Nothing was even anymore. Not love, not inheritance, not life. Even when Emma became billionaire Emma, she was still my sister, but I stopped feeling like her equal, and she stopped knowing how to make me feel like one. I don't need to be loved right now, she whispered. I just need you safe. Safe. That word was heavier than marble, softer than bread. It wasn't pity. It was protection. Something I hadn't felt in years. She handed me a document folder. Everything legal, notarized, airtight. My fingers shook just touching it. Emma had made sure there were no loopholes, no conditions, no fine print. The house wasn't a loan. It was mine. But she wasn't finished yet. And, she added gently, I put your name on the trust that manages the property income. You'll receive a monthly payout, enough to live without fear. She looked away. You don't owe me anything for it. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't think. A $1 billion sister just gave me my future back. After everything, after years of distance, after pain we never spoke aloud. Tears filled my eyes, not soft ones, but raw, shaking, real of your life flashing tears. I had never felt so small and so unbelievably seen in the same moment. I reached across the table and held her hand, something we hadn't done naturally in almost a decade. When I touched her, she finally broke. Emma leaned forward and buried her forehead against mine, both of us shaking in a way that felt like the earthquakes people fear and the rain that saves crops. She let her tears fall, not like a businesswoman, but like a sister trying to return home after wandering too long in pride. For minutes, we said nothing. Words would have ruined it. Eventually, she whispered the softest confession. You can hate me, but take the house. I swallowed. I never hated you, Emma. She looked at me, stunned. I hated the distance, I clarified. And not you. Never you. Her shoulders collapsed. Relief, regret, something in between. She wiped her face and laughed quietly through tears. Then maybe there's still a chance for us, she said. It wasn't forgiveness, not yet. But it was a door, and sometimes that's more powerful than a miracle. We spent the rest of the night talking like 2 women who finally stopped pretending. No masks, no inheritance, no rivalry. Just sisters, older now, softer now, learning each other again. When I finally walked out of the house she was gifting me, the world felt strangely bright. Not with money, not with security, but with possibility. Emma remained by the doorframe, a silhouette of power and vulnerability. She didn't wave. I didn't either. We just looked at each other like 2 pages in the same book, torn once, stitched now. Not perfect, but no longer broken. As I turned the key in my new front door a week later, my house, my name, my future, I whispered the truth aloud for the first time. She didn't save me with money. She saved me with love. And somewhere across the city, I hoped she whispered too.